Good morning and Happy New Year, distinguished guests, respected members, and participants from all over India. On this New Year, Ministry of Tourism and the Tourist Guide Federation of India wishes you a very happy New Year. Wishing you a good health, wishing you a wonderful year ahead. We hope that in this coming year, tourism will start, inbound tourism will start, and we will back to the main track. Tourism industry was badly affected in last 2 years, but now we hope in this new year, everything will come to the track. We will come back on track and that we will enjoy the tourism, the guests from abroad, and as well the guests from domestic part of India. Everybody will come, everybody will enjoy. So this is our wish on the new year. As last webinar was presented by Narendra Singh Rathorji, the past president TGFI, on the topic of forts and palaces of Rajasthan. It was a wonderful webinar, and it became very popular because more than 1,000 viewers, they later visited, go to the sites and the YouTubes and visited this beautiful webinar. This is the second part of that webinar. Today, again, we are inviting Narendra Singh Rathorji to present the second part of the same webinar, which is on the same topic, fort and the palaces of Rajasthan. So Narendra Singh Rathorji will present this webinar. Narendra Singh Rathorji, come forward. Narendra Singh Rathorji, I think he's facing some problem.
Yeah, yes. Right now, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Please start your webinar.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year to all of you. And today's topic, the fort and palaces, part 2, we start. And now we start first of all, because last time we have discussed a lot about the forts of Rajasthan. As you all know very well, that Rajasthan is very famous for the forts and palaces, historical buildings, beautiful Havelis, very nice temples, step wells, and so many other things. So architecture wise, Rajasthan is a very rich state. But first of all, before coming to the palaces and before starting our journey of the palaces of Rajasthan, just I would like to explain about those people who built all the fort and palaces. And these forts and palaces today, a big attraction of tourism of India, tourism of Rajasthan. All the forts and palaces were built by those rulers before independence of India. In place of Rajasthan, there were 22 princely states, and these princely states were ruled by different Rajput rulers, and some of them, Dholpur, Karoli, and Dig, by Jat rulers. So in Rajasthan, these forts and palaces were built by these rulers of princely states. Before starting the detailed discussion about these palaces, I would like to explain you that Rajasthan, which was known by the name of Rajputana, in the east, Kushwahas were the ruler of Dhodar princely state. In the west, Marwar and Jangal Des. Marwar capital was JODHPUR and Jangal Des capital was Bikaner. So, exactly in the west, JAISALMER state was ruled by the Bhatis. In the south, KOTA and Bundi were ruled by Haras. So these dynasties, they played an important role and they built these beautiful edifices, beautiful buildings, very strong forts and magnificent and very luxurious palaces. These all the forts and palaces were built mainly in 13th century to 20th century. But in different period, those palaces which were built by Rajput rulers between 13th century to 16th century, there will be a different kind of palace system, because in those days most of the palaces were located in the middle of the fortified structure or inside the fort, because safety was a big concern in those days. But later on, in 18th century and 19th century, and some of them in 20th century also, when the relation between these princely states and the Mughal rulers, because a sort of understanding developed between Mughals and Rajput rulers of Rajputana, and they were just, you can say, ally of each other. And due to that, security was not a big concern after 18th century. So later on, the palaces were built, and these palaces are just only palaces, and fortification is very, you can say, just nominal. Like if you take the example of the palaces in MEHRANGARH Fort, in Amber Palace, Amber Fort, palaces in JAISALMER Fort, in Chittorgarh Fort, in Kumbhalgarh Fort. Last time we have discussed and I have shown, and I will again show you. So these all the palaces are covered from all sides by highly erected strong wall of the fort and a strong fortification. But if you see the other palaces, like in Udaipur, Lake Palace, then in the Rajasthan, in Jaipur, Rambagh Palace, Jaimal Palace, Rajbhavan Palace. If you see the UMMED Palace of Jodhpur, these all the palaces are purely palaces, but these were built in 18th, 19th and 20th century. So now we come to see the beautiful images of these palaces. I'll explain you what kind of beautification, what kind of art, because basically these all the forts and palaces are the example of art and craft of that time, and beautiful architecture is used. Now we start from Amber Palace. In these palaces, they used beautiful screen, and these beautifully carved by chisel and hammer. You see this beautiful view and these three screens just above the main entrance, which is called Ganesh Pole. These domes, because in most of the palaces, they used vaulted roof or dome both the side or on the corner, and painting. In most of the palaces, they used painting, as last time I explained, that these all the colors are either natural colors or stone ashes. Now we come to a most beautiful part of Amber Palace. We call it Sheesh Mahal. Sheesh Mahal, it was built in 1622 to 39. It was built by Maharaja Jai Singh first.
Sorry for interruption, sir. Slide is not moved, sir.
Slide is not moving. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It is moving now?
Yes, sir. Yes. Sheesh Mahal. Yes, sir.
Yes. So now it is changed. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So just we are talking about the intricate work of this palace. These are the pieces of the mirrors. These are beautifully inlaid in the plaster, and these mirrors are polished with the silver. And here, next image, you see this is embossed carving work on marble, and you see the beautiful picture of butterfly. Can you see it? Is it visible?
It is visible, Narendraji.
Okay. So now we come to City Palace of Jaipur. In City Palace, you see these slender pillars, beautiful arches, nice overhanging balconies. These all are the part of it. You see a beautiful gate, and this beautiful gate, you see the detailed work of it. You see this image, and a nice inlay work also done. Just behind these two elephants, there are panels, looks like painting. These are colored stones are inlaid in marble. And just behind, you see the view of the Sarvatobhadra. You see this painting in the Chandra Mahal. And this painting, this is indigo color painting. And you see this two beautifully painted gates. And the gate of Peacock Gate of Pritam Nivas, and all the books related to fort and palaces, you can see the view of this beautiful gate. Peacock is the national bird of India, and with that, in most of the fort and palaces, you will see the images of the peacock, maybe in painting or somewhere, beautiful inlay work. So this brass studded door and nice lotus design is painted on the second door. Now see the beautiful view inside the Chandra Mahal Palace on the first floor. Nice and very beautifully made. Some decorative pieces also visible. So these all are the part of City Palace, Jaipur. Now you see another beautiful picture of City Palace, Jaipur. This was built in early 20th century by Maharaja Madho Singh. And this image also, you see the detailed work of it, and it is nice example of architecture. It is called Mubarak Mahal. It is a 4 facade building. From all 4 sides, it looks same. And you see the slender pillars, nicely carved design. So this is all part of city palace. Now from the capital of Kushwahas, we are moving toward palaces and beautiful city palace of Mewar. Because Udaipur was the capital of Mewar state, and mighty Sisodias, they ruled from here for a long time till independence of India. This is located on the bank of Pichola Lake, and it gives a very scenic view. This city palace, you see, this is the entrance to city palace of Udaipur, Tripolia Gate. 3 means 3, gate, Pol means gate, 3 gates. And just above the gate, you see beautifully carved balcony and vaulted roof kiosk both the side. Nice view. Now you see the painting work inside. You see this part of the palace, it is beautifully decorated with the pieces of the mirrors. Because mirror work is used for decoration in most of the palaces. You see the beautiful courtyard of city palace of Udaipur. In this courtyard, there are 2 most beautiful things. First, you see the overhanging balcony just in front of us, and then 3 beautiful panels on the ground floor. These 3 panels, there are 3 peacocks. As I explained when I explained about city palace Jaipur, that peacock is a bird. In monsoon time, whenever we see the Rajasthan, you will see peacocks everywhere in dancing or in a pleasant mood. So this is a beautiful bird. In the palaces and forts, we use a lot to decorate our forts and palaces in the images or in painting work or in inlay work. So here these are 3 beautiful panels just on the ground floor, and on the first floor you see the beautiful balcony. It is one of the best example of architecture, palace architecture of Rajasthan. Now you see another beautiful image of city palace of Udaipur. You see the god Ganesh. Whenever we enter in any fort or palace, either in the side of the gate or above the main entrance, we will see the image of god Ganesh, and that is always known. That gate is known by the name of Ganesh Pol, or gate of god Ganesh. You see nice work of mirrored pieces. Mirror pieces are inlaid. 2 beautiful ladies depicted both the side, and nice workmanship is done here. You see the before last picture we have seen in the courtyard, and we have seen a balcony on the first floor. You see the detailed image of this balcony from here, and you enjoy the beautiful work of it. And I show you this picture a bit close. You see yeah. Now we go to next. We go to capital of Thar, JAISALMER. As we all are aware about JAISALMER, Golden City of India, and this Golden City is very famous for the chisel work, detail carving work on yellow sandstone. And in some of the Havelis here, like Patwon ki Haveli, Salim Singh ki Haveli, these Havelis are the best example of this carving work. So here we see this image. In this image, you see detail work and nice balconies, overhanging balconies, slender pillars, very geometrically designed. So this is one of the example of nice architecture of Rajasthan. You see another picture and you see the carving work. For that, Jaisalmer is famous. Even in Jodhpur and Bikaner also, you can see the carving work in sandstone. But the sandstone used in Jaisalmer, this is yellow stone. That's why it is called Golden City of India, Golden City of Rajasthan. Now you see one more image in detail, and you see the carving work. Now we come to new era, because the earlier palaces in Amber Palace or Jaisalmer Palace, these palaces were built. In those days, security was a big concern, and these are highly and very strongly fortified. And they are located in the middle of the fort, and these fortresses were used to defend their army, their people. But here, this kind of palaces, which were built in later 19th century or in the beginning of 20th century, some of those in end of 18th century also, they are simply palaces. They were built just only for the residence of royal family. And this is one of the images of Rambagh Palace. Right now it is converted in a hotel. Not only the Rambagh Palace, most of the palaces in Rajasthan, they are converted in beautiful hotels. So Rambagh Palace also one of them, like Lake Palace Hotel of Udaipur, Rambagh Palace, Jai Mahal Palace, so many other palaces converted in luxury hotels. But they are telling the story of architecture of Rajasthan. So this is beautiful view of Rambagh Palace. You see from inside, you see nice, beautiful garden. And most beautiful thing, these beautiful arches, latticed screens, and vaulted roof, and nice cupolas. You see the view of Rambagh Palace from southeast side. It is again one of the picture of. Now we come to Udaipur again, and a palace which was built by the rulers of Udaipur, by mighty Sisodias. And this is one of the most beautiful palace in India. And this is also converted in a hotel, but this is a unique example of Rajput architecture. This is the view, the courtyard inside, beautifully designed garden with water body. You see the view, because in this palace, one can go only by the boats. It is located in Pichola Lake. Now we come to Jodhpur city, Sun City of Rajasthan, Sun City of India. Last time we have discussed about MEHRANGARH fort, but this MEHRANGARH fort was not only the fort. Definitely it is one of the strongest fort. If you see the fortification of this fort, it is really very unique and very strong, highly erected walls and very thick walls. But inside the fort, we have some very beautiful palaces. But best part of it, this beautiful architecture in red sandstone. You see this architecture, especially for the overhanging balconies. You see the brackets, and these most of the brackets in the form of peacock and trunk of elephant. You see the view of the palace inside the MEHRANGARH fort, a sitting arrangement for the king. Maybe this courtyard was used for dance program or to discuss with the courtiers. And the workmanship, you see the beautiful paintings they used, because painting art in Rajasthan developed in several centuries. And there were 5 different painting art of schools in Rajasthan. Udaipur painting art of school, Jaipur painting art of school, Jodhpur painting art of school, Kishangarh painting art of school, and Bundi painting art of school. In these, all the 5 art of schools, hundreds of different kind of subjects. Some of the subjects are common in all the 5 schools, but some of the unique subjects are in these schools. And I can say proudly, this art is still live in Rajasthan. And this credit goes to our tourism. And due to tourism, this art is still alive. In Rajasthan and Udaipur, not hundreds, maybe thousands of artists are working for paintings, miniature paintings especially. Now you see the view of a beautiful palace, nicely decorated. And in this palace, you see a very special thing, the wooden roof. You see the nice. In Jodhpur, we have seen the fortified palace, but now we are coming to one of the most beautiful and one of the biggest palace, a living palace, one of the biggest living palace in India and Rajasthan, where this still 8% royal family is living inside, but one part of this palace is converted in a hotel. Now you see the nice view of the palace from inside. What a beautiful workmanship is done, especially the carving work. For that, Rajasthan is known. You see the dome from inside, detailed work of it. It is the part of UMMED Bhawan Palace. It was built in 1930 by Maharaja Umed Singh Ji, and it was built to create jobs during a famine, during a drought, when there was no monsoon properly in that particular year. So to create job availability in this region, this palace was started. You see the beautiful picture of Umed Bhawan Palace from inside. You see the bird eye view of UMMED Palace. Again, a beautiful view of UMMED Palace from the garden side. Now, there is similar name, but different architecture, different palace. Now we come to southern part of Rajasthan. In southern part of Rajasthan, the region is called Hadoti. In Hadoti, there were two states, Bundi and Kota. And both the states were ruled by Hada Rajput dynasty. And they built some beautiful forts and palaces. Like Fort of Bundi is one of the massive fort in southern Rajasthan. In Kota, this UMMED Palace, a unique example of Rajput architecture. You see the image of it. You see. Now from Kota, we come to most famous wildlife sanctuary in Rajasthan, Sariska and Ranthambore. Last time, in the last episode, we have seen the palace of Ranthambore, located in the middle of the thick forest of Ranthambore. But second most popular wildlife sanctuary of Rajasthan, Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary. In the middle of Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary, you see nice, beautiful palace built by one of the branch of Kushwaha dynasty. They called Naruka. So this palace was built by Naruka rulers of Alwar. And you see, it is Rajput, Gothic, and Mughal architecture were used in this palace. You see the view. Now, actually, we have discussed a lot about the palaces in JODHPUR, Jaipur, Udaipur, Kota, or JAISALMER. These forts were built by the rulers of these princely states. But under these princely states, these states were subdivided in feudal states again. And these feudal states or sub-states were ruled by the courtiers, or in our language called Thakur. They were just like ruler of that feudal state under the main state. And they used to play their important role just to maintain the law and order of that feudal state or that sub-state. That may be area of a region of 5, 7, 11, 20 or 50 villages. But the head of these feudal states or sub-states, they also built some beautiful palaces. And one of the most beautiful palace, that is called Samod Palace. Under the Amber or later on Jaipur state, under the Kushwahas of Jaipur, the other Kushwaha rulers of these princely states like Chomu and Samo, these two states were ruled by Nathavat clan of Kushwahas, and they built beautiful palaces in Chomu and Samod. But Samod Palace is considered one of the most beautiful. You see the image of this Samod Palace. You see the detailed painting work inside. This is really a very beautiful palace. Now, this palace almost 70% converted in a heritage hotel, but some part is still open for the visitors as a monument. You see these images. You see nice painting work again of Samad Palace. You see the view. And it is, you see the location of this palace. This palace is located in the middle of Aravalli mountain hills. It is surrounded from all three sides by Aravalli hills. So we have seen these nice pictures of the forts and fortified palaces and the palaces of Rajasthan. But there are so many, not only 5, 10 or 20, their numbers are in hundreds. And some palaces are still well maintained and they are converted in heritage hotels. If you go to Shekhawati region, if you go to Marwar region, if you go to Mewar region, there are plenty of this kind of palaces you will see and you can enjoy as a heritage hotel, and you can have a royal experience of Rajput hospitality, and you can see the nice example of Rajput architecture in Rajasthan.
Well, well explained, Narendra Singh ji. It was in very much detail. And the most important thing, the picture selection or the collection, it was amazing. It was so beautiful. So this presentation, it was a wonderful presentation among our the last 13 series. And many more to come. We will invite you again. But this presentation was amazing presentation. Both of the part 1 and the part 2, which was presented by you, it was amazing presentation. Picture selections, oh, it's really mind-blowing. Can you just explain a little bit about Rajput architecture and the Mughal architecture, difference between Rajput and the Mughal architecture, if there is any?
Yes, it is a good question. Actually, Rajput and Mughals, they worked almost 3 centuries together. And pure Rajput architecture, if you visit the Chittorgarh, Kumbhalgarh, because Chittorgarh and Kumbhalgarh were built before coming to Mughals in India. Then in MEHRANGARH of JODHPUR, you can see pure Rajput architecture, but there are some part of the palace blended architecture, Indo and Rajput and Mughal. In Rajput architecture and Mughal architecture, one of the basic difference of the arches. The arches in Mughal architecture having the round shape, the shape of the arches, then the brackets. Whenever you see the overhanging balconies, the brackets they used. In Rajput architecture, in the brackets, you can see the images of the trunk of elephant or the head of the peacock. But in Mughal architecture, because they were Muslims, so they didn't use the images of the animals or birds. But yes, if you go to Red Fort of Agra and see the Jahangir Palace, or you visit Fatehpur Sikri. In Fatehpur Sikri, somewhere you will see the brackets in red sandstone, and you can see the image of crocodile or somewhere elephant head. So that was Rajput influence on Mughals. But in Rajput architecture, they adopted some, you can see the specialties of Mughal architecture, especially in arches. All the buildings or forts or palaces were built after coming the Mughals. The arches design became different. Then Rajputs used a lot flat roof. Mainly they used flat roof, but Mughals, they used a lot vaulted roof. And this is also a difference you can create when you see. So one more difference in Mughal architecture and Rajput architecture. In Rajput architecture, you will see nice paintings inside the palaces or in the forts, having the images of birds and animals, even in the inlay work. If you see the carving work or inlay work of stone, like sometimes stone, sandstone inlay work in marble, or some precious and semi-precious stone inlay work in marble panels, in Jaipur, in City Palace, in Amber Palace, you will see the images of the birds and animals. But if you have seen one of the part in Agra Fort also, and one of the palace, I am missing the name of that particular, in Fatehpur Sikri, where the images of the birds, the heads are scratched out, because the later on any fanatic ruler or anyone, they scratched out in Fatehpur Sikri. So this is also because in Mughal architecture, they were very tolerant people, but even they avoided to use this kind of images of the birds and animals in carving work and in painting. In most of the paintings used in Mughal palaces, in Mughal architecture, they used only floral paintings, not the images of birds and animals or human beings. So these are some differences of architecture. And then in old architecture of the Rajputs, if you go to JAISALMER, if you go to Chittorgarh or Kumbhalgarh, the residential areas in those forts, which were used for the residences of Rajput rulers, they are not huge, not very big, because luxury was not part of the Rajput families in those days. And in Mughal areas, wherever they used the residential areas are full of luxury and huge, big areas. So these are the major differences between Rajput architecture and Mughal architecture. And on this question, I'll work, and whenever I'll come next time, I'll come with the images, how to make difference between Rajput architecture and Mughal architecture. Because still, there are so many things to see in Rajasthan. And I think two subjects are equally important, like forts and palaces. Like one of the subject in Rajasthan, that is the Havelis. Till just now, we have seen only the images of the palaces and forts. But there are so many Havelis. Havelis means a big mansion where several families, a joint family, used to live inside together. So these big, beautiful Havelis having very nice carving work, painting work. So whenever I'll have time to come back again to present one more presentation, I'll take these Havelis and step wells of Rajasthan, because step well is a unique subject of Rajput architecture in Rajasthan. Thank you, sir.
Well explained, Narendra Singh ji. Of course, we want to see the Havelis and the steps well, which is the world famous in Rajasthan. So we will organize a webinar on that as well. And of course, in that time, we will again ask you to, be our speaker. This wonderful webinar is organized by Ministry of Tourism and Tourist Guide Federation of India. So we always want a new information for our colleagues, for the viewers, for the participants. Of course, whenever we will come back, we want to know about the differences between palisade and the fort. It is very similar, but there is some differences between fort and the palisade. And the next time when we will come, we will love if you will describe about the difference between fort and the palisade. Thank you, Narendra Singh ji. It was a wonderful webinar. We will meet again. Viewers, we will again join this webinar next Saturday by 8th of January. And the topic will be Nalanda, the ancient seat of learning. Please join that webinar and increase your knowledge. Thank you very much to join us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Narendra Singh ji. Thanks, Ministry of Tourism. Thanks, officials. Thanks, guests. Thanks, participants.